But without further ado, let us introduce our teams for this main event battle. The first team of this main event being the Goldenrod Gholdengos, led by Mars, playing for the Goodwill charity. Currently fourth. Oh my gosh, currently fourth place at 3-0. Um, one of the only undefeated team from the Pokemon Charity League, and has been undefeated so far, um, almost falling to both me and the Davy Martinis, but we were not able to do the trick. This team just being really experienced, a really good battler. The Oyumons of this team being the Torkoal and the Roaring Moon. The Torkoal at 1-3, Roaring Moon at 2-2. Not too many knockouts from these two mons, but Torkoal doing its job as a Sunsetter for all these Paradox Pokemon that have been showing up. The Yuyumons of this team is the Slither Wing at 5-2, being really strong in that sunlight, and just really bulky bug boy. Really good Pokemon here. And the Sandy Shocks at the 1-2. The Argumons of this team being the Porygon 2 at 3-0. The Iron Thorns that has just been recently traded out from the... Oh, what Pokemon was this traded for? Hold on, let me check. Just so I have my information correct. The Grimmsnarl, that's right. So the Grimmsnarl was recently traded out from this team to bring in the Iron Thorns, and we see the Brute Bonnet that was traded from the Shaded Sunsets for the Arboliva, currently at 3-0 as well. These Paradox Pokemon really taking advantage of the Torkoal drought. Of course, all the Paradox Mons do get a boost of their highest stat in the sunlight, or if they're the future Mons, they get the boost in the electric terrain, but he's running Sun. The Enumons of this team being the Hitmonlee, who has not made an appearance yet, the Magmortar, who unfortunately got trapped against a Gothitelle and was not able to do anything. He has an 0-1. And the Vileplume, another Pokemon that can take advantage of the sun, at 3-1 here currently. Just being a really strong special attacker and having that double speed from the sunlight, able to do just so much damage. The Piyumons of the team being the Shuckle, the Wobbuffet, the Raticate, and the Jellicent. The Shuckle and Wobbuffet each made an appearance, but they have not gotten any knockouts, which is surprising to me because Shuckle is just fantastic, and the Raticate and Jellicent have not shown up yet. This team, just really strong coordination between pretty much all of these Pokemon here. Each Pokemon able to hold its own, as well as what's the word? Have synergy with the other Pokemon, like the Torkoal being able to set up the sun for the Paradox Mons, the Vileplume also having the ability to set up the sun. Yeah, just a really strong team, really experienced battler. But the person trying to take them down this week is the Mythical Mermaids, led by Mizusuta, playing for the Humane Society of Tampa Bay. Currently 10th place at 1-2, snagging their first win last week and looking to get another win for this week. The Oyumons of this team being the Dragapult at 3-2 here. Dragapult being just a really fast, really strong Pokemon with really good type coverage. Oh, I spelled Great Tusk wrong. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. The Great Tusk recently traded from this team, from the Sneasler originally. I'm so embarrassed. I made such a bad typo. Oh my gosh. Great Tusk. The Yumons of this team being the Mimikyu and the Noivern, each at 1-2. I broke the Great Tusk. I broke it. I'm sorry. Mimikyu not having as many knockouts as expected, but that's probably because it is a Pokemon that showed up quite a lot in the last league, and people just kind of knew how strong this thing actually is. The Argumon of this team being the Cloyster, who is leading the team in knockouts at 4-2, being a really good Shell Smasher, and just having a really naturally high defense stat. It's kind of hard to take this thing down after it gets going. Roserade at 0-1, and the Miss Maggie is not having shown his beautiful face yet, but we'll see what happens in the future. The Hitmons of this team being Vaporeon and Snorlax, each at 0-1, with a Hitmon top at 1-2. Vaporeon being just really good for bulk, and Snorlax too, just really bulky Pokemon here with the Hitmon top, being able to take advantage of the Intimidate ability that it has, being able to drop the attack of any Pokemon that it switches out into. The Pigmons of this team being the Leafeon, the Vikavolt, the Rotom Frost, and the Claydol. Leafeon, Vikavolt, and Claydol each having 0-1. Vikavolt and Claydol not really meant to get the knockouts. They're just kind of meant to be annoying and set up the traps. And the Rotom Frost not showing his little face yet either. A lot of potential from the team. A lot of just really strong Pokemon here. That just have the potential to do just a lot of damage. Let's see the starting lineups of these two teams, however. The Goldenrod Gholdengos bringing almost a whole team of the Paradox Pokemon. The Torkoal, of course, being that Sunsetter, with the Roaring Moon to be supported by it. We see the Wobbuffet, though, being brought. He hasn't been brought since week 1. I don't think he was used, though, so I think we'll see if there's any usage of this Wobbuffet this time around. We see the newly acquired Iron Thorns. Interesting that the Iron Thorns is being brought in the Sun team, but whatever. We see the Slitherwing and the Sandy Shocks here as well. From the Mythical Mermaids, we see this newly acquired Great Tusk. I'm going to say that's just what it is by now. The Leafeon, the Cloyster coming back, with the Noivern as well coming back, and the Mimikyu, and the Vaporeon. Immediately I do see that two of these Pokemon can take advantage of the Sun that the Torkoal does like to set up, so that is something we can look to see as well. I'm tired, I'm sorry. Yeah, great. All these Pokemon, honestly, like Great Tusk can be so good. But like again, like Cloyster just being really good, with just being able to set up shell smashes and everything, and it's kind of hard to counter once it does get set up. But yeah, let's waste no time. Let's get into this battle. The main event of the week between the Goldenrod Gholdengos and the Mythical Mermaids. Let's see what each team leads with. Goldenrod Gholdengos leading with the Wobbuffet, with the Mythical Mermaids leading with the Great Tusk. Great Tusk immediately setting up a Stealth Rock with an Encore being used by this Wobbuffet. The Wobbuffet immediately switching out into the Torkoal. But the Great Tusk can't do anything about its attack boost because of its Encore. Switching out into the Vaporeon, with the Torkoal going for a Yawn, trying to put the Vaporeon to sleep. The Toxic, though, lands from the Vaporeon onto the Torkoal with the Rapid Spin, critting and taking a little bit of chip damage, but also removing the Stealth Rocks from the field. But the Vaporeon does decide to take a little nap on the field. It gets swapped out into the Great Tusk, with the Stealth Rocks being swapped by the Torkoal this time around. Torkoal then swaps into the Slitherwing. The Great Tusk, though, going for an Earthquake. A resistant hit, though, from the Earthquake. Not doing too much damage, but a respectable amount, though, because of the attack boost. Stealth Rocks does get set up by the Great Tusk, with the U-turn coming in from the Slitherwing. Switching into the Wobbuffet. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Great Tusk going for an Earthquake, not doing too much damage. But the counter coming in and just deleting the Great Tusk. Leafeon then swaps in to replace it. And goes for a knockoff, a super effective hit, taking down the Figgy Berry and taking down the Wobbuffet. Each team, one Pokemon down. Torkoal then switches back in. Sets up the Sunlight, though. Leafeon then swaps out into this Mimikyu. And predicting the Rapid Spin, the immune hit from this Rapid Spin doesn't touch this Mimikyu. And the Mimikyu going for a Shadow Sneak, but it does survive though. Torkoal then going for a Clear Smog, breaking the disguise of this Mimikyu, but Torkoal should be falling now from the poison. Oh, it doesn't. Living on 2 HP, but the Shadow Sneak is enough to take down this Torkoal, with the Life Orb doing a little bit more chip damage to this Mimikyu. All Out Boys, the Iron Thorns, with its Quark Drive boosting his attack. The Mimikyu then switches into the Leafeon, with a Dragon Dance being set up right away. The Leafeon outspeeds, goes for a Silver Blade, a super effective hit, taking down the Iron Thorns. The Chlorophyll ability coming in clutch from this Leafeon, Slithering then coming back in. Another Solar Blade gets charged and crits the Slitherwing and takes it down. Leafeon getting 2 knockouts, with the Goldenrod Gholdengos only having 2 Pokemon left. Roaring Moon then switches in to replace it. A U-turn, though, outspeeds Leafeon, switches out into the Sandy Shocks that's left. Leafeon not getting knocked out by the U-turn, though. And the X-Scissor, a resisted X-Scissor hit from this Leafeon, though, doesn't take down the Sandy Shocks. And the Volt Switch outspeeding, critting, and taking down the Leafeon. Roaring Moon then comes back out to show his face. But the sun does fade, though. Mimikyu then comes back out. And Ironhead, though, outspeeding and taking down this Mimikyu. Noivern then coming back in. We do see the Choice Scarf being revealed with the Heart Swap into the Sandy Shocks. With the Draco Meteor landing and taking down the Sandy Shocks. Leaving just this Roaring Moon to fare against the rest of this team. It outspeeds, goes for an Outrage, takes down the Noivern in just one hit. Vaporeon then comes back out. It does want to take a little nap, though. The Outrage critting and taking down the Vaporeon. Just this Cloyster left. Another Outrage hits. Doesn't take him down, leaving the Cloyster at 7 HP. And the Ice Cold Spear hitting, taking down the Roaring Moon. The Mythical Mermaids pulling off the upset against the undefeated champion from the Pokemon Charity League and getting her second win. A really good showing from both of these teams, and the Mythical Mermaids coming out on top.